Okay, we're going to start early. We're going to start before 5 minutes because a lot of people are joining from the get-go, and I do want to quickly just be sort of like plugging it from the start. Can we run those likes up as quickly as possible? Because it really does help to get more people in the stream as quick as possible. Yesterday in the day, we actually had a really successful one, and then in the evening last night, the stream wasn't as big. So I actually think maybe the daytime streams, let me know in the chat, are the daytime streams better for you guys to watch, or do you prefer the nighttime, or like which sort of stream time is best for you? Which one do you find yourself tuning into more, if you're here right now? But please do run up a like. Let us know that you're here in the chat so that I can see how everybody's doing. How are we feeling after last night's game, firstly? How are we doing today? We've got 21 people already in the building, so that's good. Let's all run up that like. That should be 21, that like counter. That should be everybody joining. Sergey, what's up, my guy? Football Universe, I'll get to this in a minute. I'm just going to say hello to a few people as they join in and as we get the stream going slowly, nicely, and slowly. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We're at 4.4k now. Christian, says personally at night. Was you in the stream last night, Christian? Was you in the stream last night? Sergey, why the main squad yesterday? I think that there is actually somebody said this to me on stream yesterday, and I didn't know how true it was. But I actually think maybe there is something in the rulings to do with finally a reasonably timed stream from George. My bad. Was yesterday's midday one? That was midday. That was reasonable, wasn't it? Last night's one was 11 p.m. UK. And I'm sure yesterday's one was about 12 o'clock UK midday. Good game yesterday. Yeah, I enjoyed it. There were points of it that I didn't really like so much. I think the tempo control in the second half was a little bit so-so, and we spoke about that on last night's stream after the game. But yeah, overall, I was happy. We need to see the football evolve. Last night better not be. It's not going to be the standard, not at all. Last night was quite slow in a lot of places. It was quick and we sped things up quite nicely at times, but we also sped things up too much at times. But it's like Maresca even said, they've been on a break. There's been a few training sessions. They've traveled to America, the heat, everything. That definitely is Stefan. Every time I have to study, this man makes an unmissable stream. If you can't watch live, that is completely fine. Just watch it. What do you call it? Watch it after when it comes out. It becomes a video anyway. So then you can have a nice long hour-long podcast to listen to. That's sort of how I see it. Let me know what you guys how do you guys take in this sort of content from me? When I do this, do you prefer to be here so you can ask questions? Do you ever mind if you miss it? Because then, if you do miss it, let me know now in the chat. Whenever you miss a stream, do you just listen to it as like a little bit of a podcast? Because that's sort of how I view this. I see it as in the moment. What do you mean? Studying can wait. Let's go, Stefan. Let's go. Appreciate the support as always, my guy. I'm always interested in how people sort of consume the content, because the way when I'm talking through like now, I do always think it's probably quite a good little thing to have if you do miss it. It's the sort of thing that you could just put on in the background and listen to. That's sort of how I see it. But let me know am I seeing that wrong? Do you guys see it that way too? We've got 33 people already in the room. So we're just going to give it 1 or 2 more minutes. Please do run up that like count. If we can get that to as many people in the room as there is. We're currently at 13, so we need 20 odd more likes. That would be huge, because then it will just drive more people into the stream. And when we actually get going, hopefully the momentum can sort of pick up. We can go from there, because we're going to speak a lot more about Fofana and Gittens today. I listened to it after as a podcast, but sometimes I need to look at the screen because yeah, that's true, George. That is true. I didn't bring that up on screen, but that is true. If we're using the tactics board, I think there's quite big sections where we just talk, and then there's obviously there's sort of 5 to 10 minute sections where I use the tactics board. What I've been thinking of doing is maybe making the 5 to 10 minute sections where we use the tactics board, maybe cutting that into a video itself. So having the big stream as this, and then I sort of cut the 10-minute video and make a sort of an edit for the video that is an actual sort of talking point. So let's say today with Fofana and Gittens, we'll probably have a 10-minute tactics board session where it's very sort of informational, stats based, and we sort of talk about things like that. So I was wondering if maybe if I cut that down then into a 10-minute video, would you guys like that as well? So then you've got sort of a shortened version. What do you guys think of that? I'm just sort of trying to gauge at the minute how best to cut up content Great idea, honestly. Good. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to gauge what everybody wants from this community because, like I say, I'm trying my best to grow like at a quick rate through YouTube. And I think the best way to do that is to just sort of cater to what everybody wants. George agrees. So yeah, like I'm always up for ideas. If you guys think that there's something that you guys want to see on stream, then please do let me know. Like, there's no bad ideas. I will always take in the information that you guys sort of have to offer. Fuego says, if I catch it live, then I'll engage and actively focus on this. But if I miss it, often goes like the way you perceive it, as in putting it on while I do something else, kind of like in the periphery. Yeah, that's exactly how I see it. Because, for example, one thing that I do is where I work so often, like during the day, I'll sort of be like really focused and honed in on like watching football games and like analyzing and like just a whole day of it. So when I then eventually go to sit down and like play FIFA, for example, or just do something to chill out in the evening, like an hour or two of FIFA, what I'll then do is, because I feel like I still have to like, I'm really bad at switching off from work. So when it comes to like thinking about football, it is more or less constant for me. Like even when I'm working a 12-hour day, I can't switch off. So even when I'm, say, playing FIFA, I feel like I have to be taking something in so that I'm learning or like assessing. So what I do is pretty much what you just said there, Fuego, is whilst I'm doing something, I'll just put on a podcast or like some sort of show like that I've missed, like to do with football. And then that way I feel like I'm still sort of not wasting that 2 hours playing FIFA. I'm still learning and like still taking things in that I can use. So yeah, that's sort of how I want this to sort of be perceived as well. That hopefully it can sort of bring, even if you're not actively watching the screen, hopefully I'm giving some sort of good content to sort of be taken in via the audio listeners. Long term, obviously, I want to do a tactics podcast as well. So that's another big thing that we're sort of aiming towards on the channel. So yeah, Will Kelly, big up to you, Connor. How you been, mate? Big up, Will Kelly. Appreciate the support. I've been okay. The last few days. Bit of a topsy-turvy last week. Not like I said, I was a bit towards the end of last week, didn't get as much done because I just had a bad few days. But a little bit better this week, and we're getting a bit more done. So that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's try and take the good days as they come. But how you been, Will? How have you been? Let's get in. We'll get into the tactics in 2 seconds to do with Gittens and Fofana. Let me just refresh. We've got 21 likes. We've got nearly 40 people in the building. Can we run that up to, like I say, just keep running that up? If we can get that towards 30, 40, I mean, the last few streams, I think we're on 50, between 50 and 100 likes on the streams. So I want to be hitting that every single stream if we can. So all you have to do, hit that like button, and then you leave it, and we're done. And you can just engage with the chat. Happy days. Free, yeah, facts, Quaz. 3 Fofanas and 2 Enzos, because you got Wes, that'd be Malick, and then obviously he's not on screen here, but you've got what do you call him? Datro. And then you've got Enzo, and I'm assuming you mean Enzo Maresca, the other one. But yeah, it's mad, isn't it? The Fofanas. They keep coming. They keep coming in. Oh, they keep coming in. Madueke so poor last night. Wish we can get 2 left wingers. I still do think we're going to get one of these 2. So we're going to talk about like the touchliney type of winger today. I still do think, and there's a stream, I think if you go back, the thumbnail it's either Kudus and Rogers on it, something like that. Go and watch that stream if you haven't watched that one already, because that, after this stream, those 2 can kind of be connected quite well, because in that stream we talk about the hybrid profile, so like your Rogers, your Kudus, your Xavi Simons, all those players. And in this stream, we're going to talk more about Gittens and Fofana, and like Garnacho's also in that. But like I'm not going to talk about him because I think these 2 are the most likely. So we're going to speak about those 2. But this is more like the touchliney type, and I do still think we're going to bring in 2. I still think it's going to be 2 of those signings. I think it's going to be one of these guys plus a hybrid. That's what I believe. 44 people in the stream. Let's go. We need top wingers. What are these directors doing? Let's talk about these 2, because I understand what you mean in terms of top wingers. Like you want somebody who's going to hit the ground running now. And I think the hybrid has to be somebody a little bit more established. So again, a Kudus and a Rogers, they've had a little bit more in terms of being established in the Premier League currently. But I do really like Gittens and Fofana. I love them both. But I'm going to tell you why today Gittens is ahead for me. And hopefully we can talk that through. I do want to put this out there right now, because I put this on Twitter, and all of a sudden, like, this is my thing with Twitter, right? I don't think you can win, because people will often say to me that I rate every single signing that Chelsea make because I try to rationalise things. But the second that I say that I prefer Gittens to Fofana, instantly people think that I'm advocating against Fofana and I think he's poor. That's not the case. When I analyse things and when I try to bring that to you guys, I'm trying to give you more information and then giving that information to you to then allow you guys to make your own decision. So me saying that I prefer Gittens doesn't mean that I don't like Fofana. I've been tweeting about Malick Fofana before he was linked to Chelsea. There's no correlation. Players, you can like certain aspects of a player. You can want a certain player and think that they'll help improve the team in one way that you need more of. So in our case, I think we need more shot volume off the left. And that's a big reason why I want Gittens, who's very good at creating his own shooting angles. I think that's one of his best traits. So yeah, we'll speak about that. But that's just a pet peeve of mine. That's something that I don't think you can get away with. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks. Just chilling my day off. Let's go, Will. Good to see. Good to see. Yeah, too hate. Exactly. Yeah. All of a sudden now, I just don't like Fofana. You can't get away with it, can you, Quaz? Looking forward to seeing a lot more Dario Asugo. I love Asugo, man. I love him. Not sure if you guys have seen my Asugo video, but my tweet went quite big on Asugo because I think it was last summer. So yeah, this the 2024 summer. I tweeted out a comp of Asugo. Again, there'd not been a single link to Chelsea. I found Asugo when he was playing for the under-17s of Portugal. Been watching him for a few years now, and I tweeted out a comp of his saying he's literally Casado 2.0. And as soon as we signed him, it just blew up the tweet. Yeah, I'm a huge Asugo fan. Huge. Worrying we haven't seen much movement on left back targets given Vega's clearly gone with his exclusion. Don't seem to trust ISS either. Yeah, I'm very intrigued as to why we didn't take Samuel Smith. But like I keep saying, I said it yesterday, let's just keep an eye out for Hato because I do think that we move for him, in all honesty. I would be surprised if we didn't. Fofana will be top, I genuinely believe. I'm a Leon fan and saw the club sign him in 2024 January and followed him. Basically watched every single game he has played for Leon. He is a very good winger. I do agree. I think he's a very perfect fit as an isolated winger in this sort of system. I do think the system is perfect for him. Let's talk about it. So here, if I get my tweet up, I'll quickly read to you sort of what I think about Malick Fofana. Let me just quickly grab it. This is what's great about having a better setup now in terms of cameras and stuff. I can actually use my phone if I need to, because it's a lot easier to quickly sort of grab those things from Twitter. So what I put, Malick Fofana is a perfect two-way isolation winger, but my biggest thing with him is the physicality. So 5'6" / 5'7" Fofana. Gittens has got a lot more sort of physical traits. I think he's a much more powerful carrier of the ball. Malick Fofana is a lot more intricate with his touches. He's good at taking smaller touches to create those little angle openings to beat a man or even to sort of create for himself. I think he's slightly more creative with his passing. If we look at the stats, Malick Fofana makes 1.48 key passes per game, whereas Jamie Gittens only makes 1.07. They're both around the 77% completion, but again, when you're trying to create, that's not a big deal. You want that from them. In terms of sort of passes into the penalty area, again, Malick Fofana with 1.57, Gittens with 1.2, 0.65 crosses from Malick Fofana, only 0.27 from Gittens, and progressive passes 2.48 for Malick Fofana, 2.13 for Gittens. So in terms of passing, and I think the fact that Malick Fofana is a bit more intricate with how he plays with his touches, because he'll take multiple small touches. That's just touches sort of to open up an angle. He can then make passes inside. He can open up that extra half a yard to put a cross into the box, which he does more often than Gittens, even though he has that quality, Gittens, in terms of crossing. His touches are a little bit more sort of minute, which will open up those angles for him. Gittens, on the other hand, for me, is much more powerful with his movement. He can slow it down and then he can burst. And they're both quite explosive, but I think Gittens is a more powerful version of explosive. He will take a bigger touch into the box. He can use his body a little bit better. He's got longer legs. He's got a little bit more sort of meat on him in terms of how he can use his body. So for me, having a powerful outlet winger like Gittens is something that I really want. Now, they both receive a high amount of progressive passes per 90, 11.6 for Malick Fofana, only 9.21 for Jamie Gittens. but kind of affected by his minutes towards the end of the season as well. Now, this is something we need to touch on because a lot of people have been saying this. Malick Fofana is seen more as a creator, and Gittens is seen more of he has that mold of being a goal scoring winger. Now, if you look at the stats per 90, Malick Fofana 0.43 goals per 90, 0.2 assists per 90, so 0.63 GA per 90. On the other hand, Gittens 0.39 goals per 90, so actually less than Malick Fofana. 0.10 assists per 90, so again less. So 0.49 GA per 90, so again less than Malick Fofana. So if you look at it that way, Malick Fofana has got more better sort of GA per 90 and more goals. So in that sense of being a goal scoring winger, you could say, well, Malick Fofana, his output is better. But when you look at the shooting splits and what you gain from them, it's then that you start to realise that Malick Fofana gets into those positions a little bit more often with 0.26 XG compared to 0.18 of Gittens. Gittens is overachieving his XG a little bit more significantly than Malick Fofana, not by too much, but by a little bit. Malick Fofana only takes 1.97 shots per 90. Gittens takes 2.49, and I think that actually came down quite a bit as well. He has a 40% shot accuracy on target. Malick Fofana has a 54% is his. So very accurate when he does shoot, but a little bit less likely to shoot. So he's a little bit more like Sancho, I think, in that sense, where Sancho pulls the trigger less often, but when he does, it's actually quite efficient. So let's quickly I think you guys are having a chat between you in the chat, as far as I can see. Especially Fonseca, he didn't trust him enough, but the kid's mad talented. He's going to be an awesome player. Who's this about? Who's this about? Saying about a bomb squad. I'm talking about Malick Fofana. Okay. I'm just trying. If you guys are just having a chat between you, that's all good. We have to count that getting second part of the season was kind of ruined by Kovac, and that is 100% true because then he was having to play in the pocket rather than being able to play as that touchline winger, which is exactly where he thrives. Because if we get to the take-ons, like I say, the shooting power, like that shooting tendency, is a big part of why I like Gittens a lot. I think he creates that angle for himself very well because of how he sort of slows down and then bursts into space to then get a shot away. He's very explosive off the mark from a standstill. Malick Fofana, he is very nippy off the mark, but because he's a little bit weaker, I wouldn't say it's as powerful, and he's a little bit easier to get your arm across him and sort of stop him from making inroads from a standing start, which is a bit why Fofana, for me, he's a little bit better when he can sort of take those sort of precautious touches towards the ball, like I say, whereas Gittens might take one explosive touch. Fofana's a bit better when he's little touch, and then a big explosion in that sense because of how they sort of like to make their inroads. But again, both effective. Is Gittens and Fofana the same age? Yes, they're both 20. Unless, hang on, let me just double check. I'm pretty sure they're both 20 because Gittens is 20, but Fofana was 19 this year. I think he turned 20 this year. Let's just double check. All right, Fofana 20. Yeah, it turned 20 in March. So yeah. Big up Daniel Knight. Let's go. Good to see you again. Neto left wing, how do you see it? As I feel we will push for Kudus. I think Neto will play a little bit on the right as well. So I think the likes of Neto, Madueke, Esteval. I think if you keep all of them this season, I think that's still good because I think then it means that whichever ones earn their spot for next season, essentially which one of Neto or Madueke stays. And I do actually think at that point with Quenda coming in, if we sign a powerful winger like Gittens, I do actually think the writing would be on the wall for Madueke next season. But like I've always said, my whole thing with Madueke is I'm so big on him. I really like Madueke, but I have no issue with selling him next season once everything is acclimatized and if you've replaced his skill sets. So if you sign Gittens acclimatizes well, Quenda comes in next season. Madueke for me then, I would be happy to sell him next year. I'm just a bit more cautious on selling him now. Couch Critic thinks Fofana is more about him, which I don't hate in terms of, I actually would agree. I think he's a little bit more complete because, like I said, I think he's a little bit more creative. His shooting splits are still good when he does shoot. I think a shooting tendency is something that I want to work on a bit with him. I do agree, though. I think he has a little bit more to his game in terms of completeness. However, Gittens is a little bit more what I want, and I think he really would suit a goal-scoring winger mould in the Premier League, which is a big thing for me. I think sort of when you're scouting for the Premier League and the physical conditions of the Premier League now, and especially how it's evolving, I think it's something that you need to sort of take into when you're looking to bring players in. Kaz saying, I'm making the unpopular argument that Poch would have done more this season than Maresca did. Yes, I do disagree with that. To be fair, I do also think that Poch could have got Champions League this season. My sort of big takeaway is, though, that I think Maresca's ceiling is way higher. I think Poch, if Poch had got us top four this season, I do think that would have been the limit of what he could have done with this team. I don't think he would have then had the overall control and structure to then take us that one step further, whereas I think Maresca does. So I think that's the big difference for me. Seb saying that's all spot on. He definitely prefers Gittens. Good to know, because like I say, I think that's where I'm at as well. Fuego, he agrees. So Fofana just takes games by the scruff of the neck and drives his team to goal single-handedly. Watch Lille versus Lyon. Yeah, like I say, I think I really, really do like Fofana. I want to just keep prefacing that because this is not me hating on him at all. And like you said, he's a bit of a game breaker for sure. Still talking about, that's about Poch thing. Would love getting some Fofana together. That is so balanced, like Wenda Esteval, I might create a scorer. They're brilliant. If you could sign them both together, it's tough, isn't it? Because I agree with what you're saying. The biggest difficulty with that is that neither of them are ready now. They're both players that would benefit from being the second choice. So that's what's tough. I don't think Penders is going to play, unfortunately, Will, but I would love to see that too. By the way, we've got 60 odd people in here now. So just really quickly, just to put a pause on the Fofana Gittens chat. Please, please, please drop a like. If we can get this to 60 likes, that would be huge. Literally just drop a like and then sit and enjoy the stream. Because like I say, I think the more likes you get, drives the algorithm, people come in, and it's just really good for the community that we're trying to build. Because like YNR Rick says, we need ready-made players. So I think that's the issue if you sign both Fofana and Gittens. Let's look at their take-on numbers, because I think this is something they both excel in terms of like those 1v1 chances. Again, a little bit more in a different way. So Malick Fofana, he attempts 3.61 take-ons, completes 1.43. So he has a 39.8 success rate. And I'm going to leave that on screen because Will is doing the work for us, putting pressure on the likes, everyone. So everybody do what Will says. Hit the like button, and Chelsea will win the Club World Cup. How about that? So for the possession, like I said, 39.8% successful take-ons for Malick Fofana. Again, if we're going to talk about how he does it, it's a lot more intricate. So we go to the tactics board, like I keep saying. If he's got that 1v1, he will look to sort of take those little touches to open up an angle. Once he then sees the angle, he can then wriggle because he is small, low center of gravity, and he's got that sort of that nippy nature to him. However, Gittens, in my opinion, he's a lot more inevitable in that sense when he is in those positions because he is much more powerful with his body. He tries 7.97 take-ons per 90, which is outrageous. He is always looking to go at the opponent. He's looking to drive at you like Madueke. He doesn't need the support of a wing, like a fullback, which is a huge bonus in Maresca's system. Fofana also doesn't really need a sort of support because, like I say, he can lure a player in with those small touches and then beat them. So neither of them really need a fullback support because Fofana is he's more explosive than, say, Sancho with that movement. Even like when he does those little touches, Sancho doesn't have that burst after that to really get away, whereas Malick Fofana does. But from that 7.97 successful from those 7.97 take on attempted, Gittens completes 3.57 of those with a 44.8% success rate. So that is really, really strong. And like I say, it's just the explosion of Gittens that just allows him to get away and really create that for us. So I think that would be, again, something that's just so important to this team. If Gittens can improve, because I think his crossing ability is actually really underrated. It's just I think with Gittens, you're trying to rewire that tendency. You don't want to take away too much of that shooting tendency because it's one of the things that he's best at in terms of he'll get the ball, he'll see the angle. Let's get rid of those. He'll see the angle. He'll be at basically a standstill. And his idea is he can see that space and he can burst and shoot. It's basically two actions. It's quick, bang, bang. What you don't want to do is take that away from him because that's something that is so important to his game. But what you do want to do is sort of rewire in to switch things up and maybe look like you're going to burst inside and then burst outside, put the ball into the box. So still very direct action, still sort of bang, 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 but switching it up to incorporate that crossing ability that we know he has in his locker because we've seen it. So that is something that I really like about Gittens as well. For something to mention on Fofana, he is very two-footed in comparison to Gittens. Gittens, quite often, he wants to be on that right foot, and he can sometimes get stuck inside on his right foot, which is why I think that's something he needs to develop in terms of sort of that into-out movement, sort of like a tick, if you want to put it like that. Fofana, he's very good at that because, as we keep saying, those small touches, he allows him to change direction at a quicker pace, and especially towards the outside, he's willing to use both feet. So that's very important. Fofana plays within a team structure way better than Gittens. I agree, Gittens is more of a 1v1 guy, but Fofana does make but Fofana does more to make a team function. Like I say, I agree. My biggest reason that I want Gittens is because when you've got Esteval and Neto, who I think will get the most, and Malick, but like, I think we need one of each profile. And I think if you bring in Fofana plus Rodgers or Fofana plus Xavi Simons or Fofana plus Kudus, maybe not Kudus, he's like a little bit more towards the chaos sort of side of things. I think they offer that same sort of intricacy in terms of functionality for the team. So I think what I want from this wing signing, if you're going to also sign that hybrid, is I want somebody with more explosivity and directness. Because my way of thinking is if you're going to have Esteval on this side, I think Gittens would actually be the perfect player to have on the opposite side because you've got Esteval who can sort of slow things down, connect. Him and Palmer can have a really good connection on this side of the pitch. And then on this side of the pitch, it can be a little bit more, you sort of overload this side of the pitch. And then you look to isolate, one, this pocket, but two, the progression into here. So you're looking to overload one side and isolate on the left, which is why I want a bit more explosivity on that left side. However, if you then have Madueke on this side of the pitch, then I would then agree. Maybe you want somebody a little bit more like what Sancho did last season. You want somebody like that, or Fofana, or say Rodgers, who's coming inside a little bit and being a little bit more intricate, because you're going to try to look to overload a little bit more on that side of the pitch with Fofana, with Palmer maybe coming over close into that number 10, and then you're really looking to isolate that right wing spot with someone like Madueke. So that's sort of how I see it. You're always looking how is the dynamics of both wingers on the pitch rather than just looking at one of the wingers. It's how do those wingers complement each other and how are those wingers going to help the system overall. And that's why I want Gittens as something different. Whereas I think Fofana gives us something that we kind of already have, not yet, but is something that we're looking to get in the hybrid position, if that makes sense. If we weren't going to get the hybrid position at all and we was going for one winger only, then I think Fofana probably makes a little bit more sense. So that's sort of where I'm at. Any questions about the two? Because, like I say, I'm a huge fan of both. But I have landed quite heavily on wanting Gittens as an addition in this Chelsea team because I really think he can explode within this team and within this system. I think it's so well catered towards him. 73 people in the house now. Let's keep running that like button up. Let's keep getting more people into the stream. How do you rate João Pedro? Let me go on to him in a second. Can see Dortmund playing hardball over Gittens. They keep putting the price up for him. Yeah, let's just hope. Let's hope. Hello, mate. How you doing? Azir? I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you? Need two left wingers. I think George should go on loan. I agree. I think George goes on loan. I think we sign one of these two, and then I think we sign the hybrid. So I do agree we get two left-sided players in the door. You want a proven winger. So here you go, Daniel. Let's speak about this. And yeah, I think this is true as well. I think the only problem is Neto is better off the right, but I do agree with the sort of directness and indirectness that you're talking about. In terms of wanting a proven winger, let's ask the question in the chat. Do you think a proven, would you be happy if we'd gone, would you count Rodgers or Kudus as proven? Or do you still think that because they're Prem proven, that doesn't make them like the proven winger? Or do you literally want Leao, Rodrigo, Barcola, that type of like proven winger? Let me know in the chat. Gittens will get goals for us 100%. That is no doubt in my mind he'll score goals. No doubt. Really feel like we should take advantage of Leao being available. It's one of those things, isn't it? Leao is he's one of those ones that he always comes back to me in my mind of, could you make it happen? I want Rodgers and Gittens. That would be my choice too. So yeah, it's a tough one, but the wages are so high. There is the downside of work rate. Like, there's so many things to take into account. I do just think it's a big risk. And I think it's a risk that if you was going to take a risk, that you should have took on Osimhen instead of Leao. That's sort of where my mind is with it. I think if you're not going to take the risk on Osimhen, you probably shouldn't take the risk with Leao. Because I think there's even more intangibles to sort of think about there with him than there were with Osimhen. Rodrigo isn't a touchline winger in my opinion, and the work rate isn't there for Leao. Yeah, I agree with both of those. I think Rodrigo can operate on the touchline, but I think he's better when cutting inside. But I think he's got the athleticism and the 1v1 ability to be sort of the perfect. He would be the starting left winger, and he could operate in both ways, essentially. Sorry, the chat's going really fast, so if I haven't answered your question, do sort of like retype it in like the next 2 minutes or so, if I have missed it. Where was the thing that I said I would mention for Football Universe? It's here. How do you rate João Pedro? Now, with João Pedro, I spoke about him in the hybrid thing that we did, the hybrid video. For me, he would be an addition alongside one of these two. He would be the hybrid profile that he can play as a 9 if you miss Jackson and Delap. Say one of them gets injured and you need an extra option. He's a bit like Nkunku in that sense. He can play as the 9, he can play as the 10, and he can definitely play off the left, but he would definitely want to drive inside more often. So it would mean that you have to create that really nice connection with Cucurella so that you can have these sort of those moments of interchange. You would need João Pedro to hold the width high in the first phase, but then when Cucurella can expand into there, or even Enzo, or if Jackson / the winger makes a run into the left channel, can they make that run inside? That's definitely something to take into account. But I would say go watch the stream where we spoke about it in more detail if you want to think about how João Pedro could fit. But he's definitely one of those players that he would be more of a rotation option in plenty of different positions. And he offers you some different qualities that you don't have in the squad. He's a bit of a maverick in that sense. So I do think it's one of those ones to keep an eye on, but I don't think it will happen. You like João, but I wonder if there are issues off the field. It seems like maybe there are attitude issues, doesn't it? But we don't know for sure. Rodgers and Gittens for you, yes. Gittens, Rodgers, and Waltermaid would be a perfect additions to attack. That would be really fun. It would be really fun. I think Rodgers is the one that some people, for me, that would be like a big signing. But I think for some people, that's like not a big enough name. In the chat, let me know now. If we take Waltermaid away for now, because like we're in for Waltermaid. Like apparently there's links to Waltermaid and Ekitike and things. But let's just assume Jackson Delap, that's the 2 strikers that go into the season. Out of 10, purely just on left wing, just on like attacking additions. We're not talking about so include Delap actually. Include Delap, because if we're going to talk attacking additions. Gittens, Rodgers, Delap. If that's your 3 attacking additions this summer, what do you rate that out of 10 in terms of an effective summer? I'm really intrigued what people think by that, because I think for some people, Rodgers isn't a big enough name. I wish Birth Media, I really do. But people know Barcola is literally, if there was one winger that I could sign on the left, it's Barcola. I love him. I think he's so perfect. But I just don't think it's going to happen. People are still underestimating Nico for us. He's going to bang next season. I'm assuming you mean Nico Jackson, and I agree. I think he can. For me, if you can't get Ekitike, you stick with Jackson. I think Ekitike is one of those ones where he's an upgraded version of Jackson with even better fundamentals and athleticism that you keep. If you can do that swap, you do it. But apart from that, there's not many. I still think Jackson can be an extremely effective weapon for Chelsea. Really effective. I think people are starting to. I think because Ekitike was linked, it's almost Jackson for them is already out the door. But I don't think it's as simple as that. Where are we at? 9, 8, 9. So a lot of 8s and 9s. Rodgers would be also a perfect backup for Palmer. He gives you that extra option, doesn't he? So like I say, with the hybrid, you can start him on the left, but if Palmer's injured, then you have a very good number 10 that can come in and be that Palmer replacement. You've got to think if Palmer goes out injured, and it felt like a lot of times last season, Palmer was sort of playing through a lot of pain because we didn't really trust anyone to play that role instead of him. That's how it felt at times. Obviously, he did miss a few games. So Rodgers, he brings that too. 8, 8, 8. and you think Rodgers is a big name, that's good. 8. A lot of 8s, which is very interesting because I think that's good. I think a lot of couple of 7.5. So it probably does average out at 8 because we've got a few 9s, a few 7.5s, and then we've got a lot of 8s. We've got a 9 here again from Will saying there's room for improvement, which is 100% true. I think the lap will be a Palmer-esque signing. I'm so happy with the lap. The movement yesterday, guys. If you haven't seen on my Twitter already, go check it out because I posted it. The movement of the lap, it was unbelievable. It was so good. Just the way, and we spoke about it on stream last night, the way he checks back into that spot, waits for the defender. As the defender's moving up, it's this line. What it represents is when the defender hits his heels and when he sort of hits the jockey position, the momentum's coming forward. He hits this position. And as he hits that position, that's the lap in his head. That's his minute to spin because that's the most beneficial moment where the defender cannot stop the lap against his momentum. The lap is in control at that point. And like you've just said, is the best you've seen in years at CFC. And it's something that is just, it's been obvious in his game. So yeah, I agree. I would love to see him start the next game. Aston Villa do need to sell for PSR by the end of the month. Yes. Andy saying a 7 or an 8. So like I said, I think an 8 is about right. Next question for you then. If that's an 8, if you're one of the guys that thinks it's an 8/7/7.5, what makes it a 9? What change do you make? So, like I said, you've got Gittens, Delap, Rodgers. Which one of those 3 do you switch for somebody else that then makes it a 9 for you? So, let's say you don't want Rodgers, but you want Gittens, and that makes it a 9. Let me know which one change would you make within those 3 signings. So, yeah, Daniel, that's we're talking about just attackers. So that's only for the attackers, the out of 10. But I agree, obviously, a new goalkeeper's something to keep an eye on. Prediction for Chelsea's first game of the season. Who do you think will get home or away? Oh, predictions for that is just tough because you can't really predict it, can you? Let's say Leeds. Leeds at Ellen Road. Leeds away. First game of the season. You heard it here first. You think Rodgers out, Kudus in makes it a 9. Very interesting. You just want a bigger name like a Gyökeres or Rodrigo. Gittens to Rodrigo equals 10 out of 10 window. You're not going to get Rodrigo and Rodgers, though, are you? They're sort of both the high-profile signings, but I hear it. 10 if we somehow got Quenda. I mean, if we brought him in now. Isaac/Barcola. So I'm assuming would that be Isaac instead of Delap or Barcola instead of Rodgers? Would that be sort of how you put it? And then you'd still sign the backup of Gittens/Malick Fofana. Is that sort of how you see it? If we sign a higher-profile left winger. So who is that for you, YNRC? Who is it? Is that Rodrigo? Is that Barcola? He is Cole Palmer's best mate. Did you see the comments, Daniel, to back and forth between like the Delap picture, which then Rodgers commented on? It's one of those ones. Hopefully, let's keep an eye. Marcus said yes. So yeah, you mean the swaps I said. Frank Kudus might be in a decline, and $13 over 2 seasons is hardly 75 mil. I do really like the idea of Kudus though, purely because the athleticism and like sort of maverick side of him that I quite like. I still would pick Rodgers over him because of the right-footed nature, the links that he's already got in the team. And like I say, I think Gittens plus Rodgers gives you a really good mix of attributes. But Kudus is one that does intrigue me a lot. He does. He's been one that intrigued me since Ajax because I just think his physical profile is so well made for the Premier League. I think we'll end up selling Madueke. You think he'll be sold this month? Interesting. Like this window. Seems like Esteval might get a shot in the Palmer role. See, what I think currently, if we weren't to sign a hybrid, is that Esteval's minutes would be mixed between being the backup for Palmer and being a right wing option. I think he'd have sort of a mixture of both to give him his minutes. So I don't think that's a bad shout. Filts on Eze feels like a safer option than Kudus. I think the price point, he's closer to Rodgers than he is to Kudus. Obviously, he's a right footer, plays in that sort of hybrid-y role. He's one that was on my list as well. So yeah, I hear it for sure. He's not as high for me as those two. I still think Kudus and Rodgers probably ahead of him. But then I'm not sure. It's the right-footedness it's the left foot of Kudus that puts me off signing him as the hybrid player. I would like a right-footed hybrid player. So that's tough. Barcola for Andy would be the guy. That's the guy for me if I could have one. See, Crizzy, you're putting like the new goalkeeper and left back. Which I agree with. I think both of them are quite needed. and like an TK, who I agree does offer a little bit more than Jackson, but he's similar. But we're talking just about the attack when we're doing that out of 10 rating. So the goalkeeper and left back wouldn't affect that rating. What do you think about links with Trafford? Say, backed away from my nan for good. Would Trafford interest you? I think Trafford's a good goalkeeper. Does he interest me completely? I don't think it would be very wise considering how highly you rate Penders. I think if you're going to sign a goalkeeper now, then it should be someone like Manyan. I also wouldn't have sold Petrovic. If you're not going to get Manyan in, then I would have kept Petrovic and he would have been the bridge to Penders. So that's something that's in. Yeah, 100% Stefan. 7 left-footed attackers, man. It's a lot, isn't it? Rogers, Gittens, Palmer, and Delap. God, the Fantastic Four, literally. And that's without, like, you think you've got Esteval as well. Wow. Be fun, wouldn't it? Be a lot of fun. Rogers, Palmer, and Delap all playing together would just be so much fun. I think we need left wing next season. Yes, you mean for the right. Yeah, I agree. Is Rogers actually realistic? I think it's realistic. I think it's one of those ones that we don't know how realistic it is, probably for another week, because we need. And yeah, I do think Trafford's off to Newcastle as well. Is it? Let's see, because I think in a week, depending on whether Villa have made sales or not, that's when people will start coming in for Rogers. My only thing with that is I think a lot of other teams will be in for him too, if that becomes the case. I think City were interested, maybe not now because of Shirky and Reinders. Arsenal, another one that I think could move for him. So let's just keep an eye on it. But I think it's one of those ones that you could see in a week. Would you sell Nkunku and bring Rogers in as a replacement? Yes, absolutely. 9 is Delap Gittens, João Pedro, because it is better for me to have a versatile player for the flank and for the centre of attack. Centre of many profiles, Esteban and Santos can come out. So you mean for like in the middle of the pitch? So yeah, I think that's fair. João Pedro, okay. I don't hate that because, like I said, João Pedro is within that hybrid role. Would you also, in that sense, what about Kudus, Sergey? Because Kudus could also be that sort of versatile false 9 type as well, and he's got the physical profile to both drop in and link, but also spin in behind, and he could definitely play as that false 9. So what about Delap, Gittens, Kudus? What would that rank for you? Do you think we'll see more of Palmer right wing and Gusto overlapping? I think we'll see it more than we did this season, but I don't think it will be the tactic. Delap is unreal. He was my second choice. If you couldn't get Osterman, Delap was my secondary choice. He had to be signed. I think he's so good. I think his movement, I think his build, his box presence, just his ball striking, and just the smaller tendencies and his behavioural tendencies are just so good. Phil Gittens is the one profile we're missing off the left. That's it for me, Untold. That's why I'm so big on Gittens. And that's why Gittens is slightly ahead of Malick Fofana for me, because I just think he's such an important profile. I'm going to quickly pause, by the way. We're on 52 likes, but we've got nearly 90 people in the building. So whilst we take a 30-second sit back, please can we hit the like button if you haven't already? Smash the like button. I'm going to refresh this in 30 seconds. Surely we can smash that to at least 80 likes, because that means there's at least 30 odd people that haven't hit the like button in here. So take a swig of water, hit the like button. 53 likes. Let's go, Daniel. Everybody follow suit from Daniel. Hit the like button. Take a quick swig. And let's see what we hit in the next 30 seconds. Just double check my phone as we wait. Make sure we haven't missed anything. Don't think we've missed any news or anything. Let's have a refresh. See where we're at. 71 likes. Good job, everyone. Good job. We're hitting a good few likes there. Please, if you are in here, still got 88. So there's still a good 20 people-ish that haven't hit the like button. Please do smash the like button. It really helps me out more than you guys know. It only takes 2 seconds, and that is it. All I ask for from you when we're enjoying the stream. I'll always look to read everybody's chat. I don't want to miss anybody out. I want to answer all your questions. I'm more than happy to. But please, in return, just please do hit that like button. And that's all I ask from you. Anyway, where were we? Could have played striker a lot at Ajax. Yes, he did. And like I say, he's got the physical profile for it. So it makes a lot of sense that he can play that as a secondary role. Other than maybe City, We're the most attractive team in the PL for young players. Liverpool are not fair. I think, yeah, I guess if you look at the overall, it's one of those ones, Stefan, where I agree because I think the overall project lends itself to it, and I think it's a good proof that we can sort of develop them in that way, and it can sort of be a good project for them to be part of. The only thing is, you've obviously got a lot of young players in their positions as well, so it depends how much the young player backs themselves to earn that spot for them. For example, if you're coming into Chelsea now, if you're a right winger, let's say even say Quenda, right, who sees himself, he is a right winger, but he can also play off the left. So he's backing himself to join. He knows he can play off both sides. He knows he can fight his way into the team because of the immense talent that he is. But he hasn't. He could have easily shied away from Chelsea and joined Man U, for example, because you've already got Esteval, you've already got Palmer, you've already got a lot of left-footed, right-sided players. But he's backed himself, and I think that's another key part of it. How much does the youngster back themselves? But that's another good thing because you want players that want to challenge themselves. Rodgers has to be 70 mil plus, no difference from any other top players. Williams, Barcola, Leao. Yeah, he probably would be 70 mil. How about you, Connor? What would make it a 10 out of 10 for you? So I'm assuming you mean in attack, like the attacking thing we spoke about. For me, if you could get... See, this is where it all changes, which is a shame. Because, right, I'm going to give you two scenarios. Gittens, Rodgers, and Delap. That, for me, is a 9. Okay? There's two things you could do that would be 10 out of 10s for me. That would be, you wouldn't get Gittens, but you'd get Barcola. Now, if you got Barcola, I now actually think that someone like Malick Fofana would make sense. So if you could then get Barcola, Malick Fofana, and Delap, that's a 10 for me. The other one is Gittens, Ekitike, and then Jackson would be sold. So then you also then look to bring in sort of a hybrid. So let's say that hybrid is, and that hybrid can be much more of a 10. So still Rodgers would be brilliant, but I think that's a lot of money. So maybe try to get a cheaper one like a João Pedro or some sort of 10. I'm trying to think what I would do in my head. I'll have to come back to you on that one. But Barcola and Ekitike are the two that I think could boost that attacking window to big heights, like we've said. Max, you would pay for Rodgers, Kudus. Rodgers, I'd pay about 80. Kudus, I'd want to pay about 60, I think. And that's the max I pay for Rodgers. I'm not saying I would pay 80 outright. I mean, I think you could get it done for about 70 if you play your cards right. But yeah, maybe 75 for Rodgers. Kudus, I'd say 60. We need the lad to get a goal. We do. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Ekitike can play as the left wing hybrid, yes, but I think he's way better through the middle. I don't think it's worth really speaking about him playing off the left, similar to Jackson. I think he can do it, but why do that with such a talented player through the middle? Off topic, but I've always wondered, what do you think Maresca doesn't like about Chilwell to completely leave him out? I just think it's the ability on the ball. I think he's a bit too direct at times. I think he is very forward-thinking, being more of a wing-back. And I think it's something that he maybe thought would keep the chaos within the team when he wanted to drill it out of the team at certain points. Now, if you could reintegrate him, and I wouldn't do this because I think he's on really high wages, he's getting on, he's struggled for injuries. Like there's different reasons why I wouldn't bring him back in. But I think if it was the other way around and you was trying to inject chaos into a controlled system, maybe there'd be more of a chance for him coming off the bench to provide as that sort of left winger, like left wing back width holder. But I think it just worked out the wrong way around for him, unfortunately. Not so sure on Kudus' ability to handle the job on the left flank. He's a monster, though. Maybe I need to think about it. He is a monster. I agree. Like the left flank is the worst of his three positions for me in terms of I prefer him off the right. Then I like him in the 10, being a central carrier. And then off the left. However, I do think off the left, he can occupy this left half space really nicely. And he has the pace and power on the outside is the key, which is why he can handle playing off the left. His athleticism is just right up there for me as a reason why I like him. The left-footed side of it is perhaps the bit that I'm a little bit sort of off on. Lavry and Casado shouldn't play close together. One to push up the pitch. Casado used to play box to box. I do want to see Casado playing a little bit higher. But I said this yesterday. There was a few times where Palmer was dropping into this gap, which we know that they like to do, sort of on this axis that I like to call the sort of wide centre back to winger axis. Palmer drops into that axis because it's a good way for him to receive the ball and sort of dictate play from outside of the block. When that happened, Casado did actually venture his way forward a bit, sort of into here. And you did actually at point C, Casado higher than Palmer in that sense. So I want a little bit more of that, and I want it to be a little bit more free. But it's definitely something that I think hopefully we could see a little bit more with the likes of Andre Santos, Lavia, Sugo. There's a lot more options in midfield now. If we sign two wingers, Rogers and Gittens, do you see Kenda playing on the right as opposed to the left? I think Quenda is one of those ones where he'll probably get chances on both sides. So it's one of those ones where I want to reserve judgment. I do think Kenda's best off the right. But I think if you want to get him in the team and you want Quenda and Esteval playing, Quenda on the left would be fine. Again, it's just a lot of left-footers in attack. That's the only thing. But he's definitely good enough for it. What happens if the Lap and Jackson get injured? Who are we going to play up front? That's why, so like you say, we need another striker. I think that's another reason why they want this player to be a hybrid, so that you can still give them minutes. So let's say João Pedro, for example. João Pedro's minutes aren't only dependent on the Lap and Jackson getting injured. Whereas, say, who's an example? Mateta. If you sign Mateta, his minutes are purely based off of the Lap and Jackson not playing. If they were like ahead of him in the pecking order. Whereas if you sign João Pedro, he will get minutes on the left. He'll get minutes as the backup 10 for Palmer. He'll get minutes as the third choice striker. He can even play as a double, sort of like as a number 8 if you really want to go for it against certain teams, like Chelsea did last season against, say, Southampton with Felix. So that's, I think, why they want that hybrid player who can also cover as the third striker, so that you don't end up in that position. Because I do think Guy will go on loan to Ipswich. So you say, Delap seems a more culture striker than Osman. How do you mean in that sense? I think he's more complete. I think he has a little bit more strings to his bow, but I think Osman is just like the elite level of that. Like he's just so like box dominant. Like he is the box dominator in the world of football for me. You're doing awesome on your channel, mate. Keep up the good work, bro. Will, that is really, really appreciated, my friend. Because yeah, it is really nice to hear. It's nice to hear. So thank you very much, Will. And I really do appreciate your support, because you do always, like you say, you come back. You're somebody that I see a lot in the chat. So thank you very much. How much do you reckon Villa value Rogers, as they need to balance the books? 80 mil. It depends how much pressure we can put on them. Let's say between 70 and 80, yeah. What do you rate our window if we get Gittens, Rogers, Manyan, Hato? It's a good window. I guess it's got to be a 9 for me overall. With Delap as well, it's got to be a 9. Yeah, that's a really good window. I'd love that. I'm looking at Fofana. Have you got caps lock on, by the way? And yeah, I think all of your messages are in caps, which I don't really mind, but because they're all in caps, so it's not like you're shouting at me. But I'm looking at Fofana. I saw that he is more of a traditional winger who likes to take on his man. Wouldn't he be better suited for Maresca? He's suited just as much as Gittens, in my opinion, because they both like isolations. Like I say, it's more so about what I prefer, like what I want from Gittens. Like I said, if you are to sign Barcola or somebody else who's really direct, then Fofana maybe does make more sense. I just think that we really lack what Gittens gives you, especially if you've got Neto or Esteval on the other side of the pitch. How much do you think Gittens can improve his passing game? Currently, he's lacking a lot in that, and it's worrying. I think he can improve it. I think it's more about getting his head up and seeing things than it is about his actual ability to pull it off. Because his crossing, for example, I actually think is very underrated. His creative passing isn't great in terms of finding those like really clever passes into the box, which Fofana actually does excel with. But his crossing can definitely improve if he can get his head up. And I think that's something that you can coach. But like I say, you need to be careful when you're coaching it with Gittens, because what you don't want is you don't want him to lose that explosiveness inside where he can get shots off within 2 actions, because that is what makes him such an exciting player. So it's one of those ones you need to tread carefully, but it definitely can be done. Daniel wants a new goalkeeper, and he also wants a someone that can cover for Kukurea. So Hato and Manyan would be perfect for you, essentially, Daniel, would you say? If a young player is ever going to make it, they have to be cocky as hell. And that's what I love about Delap. I think he's got that. I think he's got that mentality. I feel there's a little bit of stability in our defence in our recent matches. And that all comes from the system, Joe. It comes from the system. We're slowing things down. We're getting a little bit more stable within this block. And yesterday, Palmer working his tail off. These players working hard to, instead of making it that 5, you're making it extra. You're adding those extra bodies, and it's really hard to get through the middle of the pitch with that work rate. So, like I said, the tempo issues that were there in the second half, there were issues, but we have got much more stable, and that's a good thing. Since we have so many outgoings this window, I'm expecting more than just Gittens. Yeah, 100%. Outside of PL-centric options, what other targets would you look at in the hybrid role? So there's obviously, you've got Xavi Simons, which I've said before is a little bit lower on my list purely because I think physical sort of demands. But again, you cannot deny it. In terms of quality, he's a ridiculously good footballer. Yildiz is another one that I like. What other players? I have a list somewhere, but I've just I might be able to get it up actually. I have when I do sort of scouting days, I did a scouting list for somebody, which I can't say. Ben Seguir is another one that I quite like off that sort of hybridy left side. But again, he's young. So yeah, that's hang on, is there any more here? Any more? People, I like Matthias Tell still, but he's going to Tottenham. But again, he's somebody I really like. And I think he's going to explode. So take with that what you will. I think that's it in terms of ready-made ones. I've got quite a lot of really young names, ones that are sort of they're nowhere near ready to do it yet. But I'll keep them on the list for now. Because nobody's going to want to hear about those players because they're even less ready than Gittens and Fofana. Thoughts on Leao and what winger you'd sign with him? If we signed Leao, then I think Fofana, to be honest, because he works really hard and he's very different. So if he was going to sign Leao, it probably would be Malick Fofana. Marcus, I think, yeah. £80 million. Do you mean for Rodgers? I think between 70 and 80 million pounds for him, yeah. We've had some links to Xavi Simons. Seems like a deal I can see Chelsea do. Yeah, it's definitely something that could happen. He's got release clause, I think. Do you think Jackson can play deeper, the 10? I think I wouldn't play him as a 10, like an actual 10. What I think could work is playing him almost as that Marmouche type off of the lap. If you really when you're chasing a game. So sort of an off 10, sort of like a hybrid, like a 9.5 off of the lap as a 9. So that's definitely something. Thoughts on Nick Waltemada? Love him. Absolutely love him. I do still think Ekitike is better because I think he has more physical traits that, in terms of speed and sort of that extension that he has. I just think it can translate a little bit quicker to the Prem, and I think his ceiling is higher. But Waltemada is very, very good. He would be unbelievable. Let's have a quick refresh because we've been totting around between 70 and 90 viewers. We're on 86 likes. That is huge. Thank you, everybody, for liking the stream. Please do continue to like the stream. We're probably going to go for another 5 minutes to answer these last few questions. But please do continue to support because it means a lot. I'm going to go to the bottom, so I might miss a few here. But we said Rodrigo Mora. Yes, he is that type of player. But again, he's very sort of raw. So I'm not sure that you'd want to sign him and Gittens/Fofana. But he's very good. I'm just going to have to go through a few of these quickly. He would have, but I just think that Maresca Clee didn't trust him. Do you prefer Kukurea inverting into the left 10 or the pivot? I think he's good in both, but I really like... A lot of people don't like this, and I'm going to speak about it again in detail at some point. I really like it when one of our fullbacks goes into the attacking number 10. I think it's good, because I think they have the intensity to press in all directions when we lose the ball. I think it ups our sort of abilities to sustain pressure. And I also think someone like Kukurea, he attacks the ball with intensity, attacks the box with intensity too. So I do really like him in there, but it all depends on the opposition. Opinion on Murillo as a left centre-back buy would be really good. Perhaps a little bit in terms of aerial presence, him and Colwell as a pairing. I'm not 100%, but I do like him. The dream would be Gittens, Delap, Kudus and Hato. I don't hate that at all. Maybe my Nyan, you said as well. Would you sign Jack Rodgers if it meant you had to give up Jackson? Only if you can then also sign Ekitike or Waltemada, then yes. But if it was Rodgers and then we give up Jackson and we also just don't sign another striker, then no, because then you have only got Delap again. I think then you're missing a big skill set once more. So it would have to be Rodgers. If you sold Jackson, you bought in Rodgers, and say Ekitike was too expensive, so then you also signed Waltermar, then yeah, I would do that. Yildiz, yeah, he was one that I mentioned. Thoughts on Gula? Brilliant player, but just not one that we need, but really good footballer. Disappoint. Oh, such chat has froze. There we go. Disappointed that we bought on Gusto right centre back over Josh. Would have been nice to see Josh, but Gusto is still ahead in the pecking order, isn't he? I love Samu, but now that you've got Delap, my choice would be Ekitike. Hope we don't get City. Yeah, we really need to avoid a big game, first game of the season, because do you guys want to see a stream for that? By the way, do you want me to stream early in the morning to sort of go through the fixture list? Because I think that comes out tomorrow. Would you guys like to see that? Let me know in the chat, yes or no. But yeah, it would be nice if we can get a nice easy run in because I mean, if we're going to be tired at that point, so yeah. Curious as someone who doesn't follow Chelsea every day. You're a Roma fan. It's nice to know. Like, let me know in the chat really quickly before we end. Are you a Chelsea fan? Just type, if you're a Chelsea fan, type Chelsea. If you support somebody else, type the team. Because I'm really trying to expand I don't want my channel to become all Chelsea. Because I work within football and I work on so many different teams, but I only really come to you guys with Chelsea. But I'm trying to expand a bit more. So if you support a different team, I would love to know who. That's quite a cool thing to know. Where are we at? A lot of people putting Chelsea, which I do expect. What do you think about the treatment of Josh? He's just so good. He is so good. I'm not too worried yet. Let's see. Thoughts on how we beat PSG? We'll cover that when we get there because that's where I want to get to. And I think that would be a brilliant thing to touch on when we get there. I think that will be a really fun week of streams, videos, sort of going into to detail on how we could beat them. So I'm going to leave that for now because that's something I'm really excited to do in the future. Thoughts on Tosin? I like him as a backup. I think he offers good on-the-ball qualities. He has his moments, which I'm a little bit switched off with. I think he's one of our better box defenders as well. So I like Tosin for what he is. How do you Garnacho as he's always down the pool? How do I rate him? I think he's another one that falls into this category. He's not. Gittens and Fofana are both higher for me, but I do think he fits the profile that you're looking for there. But I think he'd cost more money for something that I think is less worthwhile. And I think the risk with him, attitude-wise, is also there for me. So a lot of people saying Chelsea. 9 a.m. they come out. Yeah. It was nice to see him drift out wide and connect as a 2. Like I said, I like Palmer starting inside, but then drifting wide to sort of play and create that double width. So that's also really fun. So yeah, I agree. That's our first non-Chelsea. We have Roma, Leon and Chelsea. That's cool. So yeah, we're going to end it there because I have a lot of other things to do. A lot of Chelsea fans, obviously. As always, please do leave a like to support the stream, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for the support. I'll see you guys. Got a video coming out either later today or tomorrow as well about Chelsea's tactical sort of evolution through the Club World Cup. So keep an eye on that. Drop a like. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.